Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show this evening. Tonight's guest, we have David Alexander, the attorney representing Kevin Cooper, who is sitting on death row right now. This man has been on death row for 31 years. He's maintained his innocence from the very beginning of his arrest. Uh, Kevin won't be on the show tonight, but his attorney is in the studio tonight. We're going to be talking to his attorney about the case and about Kevin, and we want you to call in and give a little uh, feedback, some questions. Ask some questions to Mr. Alexander about the trial, about Kevin, and we need some help. We need some help funding this search to free this man from death row after 31 years. So feel free to call in at any time. The number is on the board there on the screen. Call in at 415-861-6648. But we're going to bring in Mr. Alexander, David Alexander, and allow him to come on and talk to the audience tonight. Welcome to the show, Mr. Alexander.
Well, thank you for having me back again, Wendell. It's always a pleasure and a real opportunity and treat to speak to the community because Kevin, as you said, it's not just funds that we need, but we need some volunteers. We need some real help. People often ask, what can we do, to help out? Well, there are specific things you can do, and if you just contact me, for example, on my email address that's up there, we'll get back to you. But with all that's going on in the world today, it's nothing new. It's been going on for a long time.
Right.
And Kevin Cooper circumstances reflect some of the worst law enforcement abuses where many have admitted the name of the game is winning.
Right.
It's not justice,
Right.
and it's certainly not fairness.
Right.
So none of us working, and I'm only one member of the team. Norm Heil in Sacramento is the leader of our team, Katie DeWitt, Elspeth Farmer, and many others. So I say to the people of the community, don't just sit here and listen. Don't just sit here and call in. Call us up. We could use you. You're going to feel a lot better, and it'll make a big difference in Kevin's life.
Exactly. Well, we challenge the audience today to call in and take part of this. Kevin's been on death row for 31 years.
Yes, sir.
And it's not fair to him being in prison for a crime that he did not commit. More, he may have done something in his lifetime. Sure, we all have, but he's on death row.
This is the first. Kevin was in the Chino Hills men's prison being processed for where they would put him for a burglary, not even robbery, not even use of force. And he got himself in a bad set of circumstances the night that a family and a guest were slain down in Chino Hills back in 1983. And if people recall back then, at that time, and there's still remnants of it today, that was the heartland of the skinheads, the Aryan Nation, some of the bad Hells Angels, because they're Hells Angels groups that have done good. I'm sure I'm leaving out, but there is no question what that community was like, and he was a black man, more as importantly, poor. And it's not just the blacks, it's Hispanic, it's poor whites that are victims of the system.
Right.
And in Kevin's case, this is not an instance where there's just one piece of evidence that shows he's innocent.
Right.
It's just one after another, a planting of evidence,
Right.
of tampering with evidence, of destruction of evidence, all that would exculpate him.
Mm-hmm.
And go on his website, freekevincooper.org, and you'll be able to read it, and you'll learn about it, and it will outrage you. It
Right.
will simply outrage you.
Well, we have a man that was 3 hours from being executed, and they stopped it.
That's correct.
That doesn't happen. So there was a reason why they stopped that execution. So if you go on his website and read his website, okay, this man was 3 hours from being executed, being killed, being murdered, and they stopped the execution. So it's something more to them stopping the execution and putting him on hold, so to speak, for all these years after that stoppage of the execution.
That's exactly right. I was called by the Innocence Project, a wonderful organization I hope many of you have heard of, from Santa Clara, and asked to look at the case, and I did. It's not something you take on lightly because of the commitment that it involves.
Right.
And that was in September of 2003. December 17th, 2004, he got his execution date of February 10th. And we didn't have a lot of time. Governor Schwarzenegger was the governor, and he's actually come around on this case in comments that he made publicly. But we knew it was going to be a tough battle. 3 hours and whatever number of minutes. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals stayed the execution. The Supreme Court would not reverse that. The state wanted to kill him so badly, they went to the Supreme Court to try and get the Supreme Court to say, no, let us execute him.
Wow.
And he was given the right to prove his innocence. And that was in 2004. We are now in 2016. There have been a number of court proceedings. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, actually at least 13 judges out of 14 that we needed, as a factual matter, said they were continued to be troubled that the question of Kevin's guilt remained unresolved.
Wow. That's right.
After all that, and 5 of the judges were of the view, and they start their opinion by saying the state of California may be about to execute an innocent man.
Wow.
And then other judges, while not joining in that whole opinion, said that the district court did not follow their instructions. So we move on from there, and we're now before the governor, and we think he'll be fair. We don't have time enough to list all the people who are in support of us, but it's a most impressive list, and if you go on the website, you'll see it. But what I want to do now is I'd like to get questions from as many people as we can to involve people.
Right. Well, we know that we need questions to be asked and answered, because this man has been on death row for 31 years. That's a long time to be on death row, to be sitting idle and not guilty of this crime. They send people to prison every day that's innocent. And you sit in prison and you wonder, what did I do? I've done things in life. What did I do to deserve to be sitting in prison? I did 27 years and 9 months for a crime I didn't commit. I'm out now.
Yeah.
I've been out 15 months.
Yeah.
I'm out now, and I'm challenging. I'm going to prove that I didn't commit this crime, and I'm going to get my name back. I want my name back.
Of course.
Right? Because it's something when you walk down the street and you see people, and the first thing that goes in my mind is that, do they know I've been in prison for a crime I didn't commit? Or do they know I've been in prison, period? And that stays in a person's mind.
Well, among the people who've commented on our case and who we've submitted materials for them to review and then let them look at it independently, we didn't tell them one way or the other, are a couple of prosecutors. And they had the courage, and one of them wrote and came forward with the fact, and he writes this chilling language that says that when he prosecuted a man and got him sentenced to the death penalty, okay, he knew he was innocent. He knew he was innocent. He knew he was innocent. It's right in his letter. I'd take the time, but I won't now. And he said that for him, he was arrogant. This is the prosecutor. He was arrogant. He ignored evidence that was exculpatory. And he said the name of the game is winning.
Is winning.
The name of the game is winning.
Wow.
Okay, it's not truth, it's not justice. And it's hard for people to imagine. It's hard for anyone to imagine that somebody would deliberately go about doing that. But the pressure is tremendous to solve the crime, put the public at ease. Okay, we've got the bad person.
Right.
Meanwhile, You convict an innocent person.
And
The
person-
people who did it are still out there, so you haven't made the public,
Right.
any
And
bit
that's
any
safe.
bit safer.
And that's safe.
And people find it very, very hard to believe that this conduct can go on. And I'm not, believe me, I'm the last person that says all cops are bad. I don't believe that for a moment.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yes.
But all you need is some,
Right.
and that's enough. And that's what we had in Kevin's case. Although there were a lot of instances in this case. And if you read about Kevin's case, and there's a book called Scapegoat: The Chino Hills Murders and the Framing of Kevin Cooper, which is an award-winning book by a gentleman by the name of John O'Connor, Pat O'Connor, we
Right.
call him.
Right.
If you really want to get into it.
Excellent book. Excellent
Excellent,
book. Yes.
yes.
I read the book. Excellent book.
Oh, I'm glad
Yes,
to hear that you
yes,
did.
yes.
It's very thorough,
Yes.
very well done. Extremely
Well,
well done.
you can go on freekevincooper.org, and you can find some interesting things about the case itself. You can go on. You can find his books. You can read his books. I've took an interest, and I've started reading some of his books, and it's very interesting that this man sits in prison all these years. And reading his book, you can read his book, and the man is innocent. The man did not commit this crime. So we need people to get on this bandwagon, start rolling, fighting to get this man out of prison. This man is innocent and sits in prison. He needs to be on the street being a productive citizen in society. That's what he needs to be.
And we need the community. I repeat it again. You're probably tired of hearing it, but we need the people in the community to say enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
We're not going to allow this to happen, and we're going to speak out.
Right.
Because I think Governor Brown, when he's presented with the matters, will be extremely fair about it. And he understands the outrage of the community. And now we've got documentation of incidents more recent.
Exactly.
We've seen too many of them.
Too many.
Well, this isn't new.
Right.
These didn't just happen.
Right.
They've been going on for a long time.
Long time. And it does not just happen in here in California. It happens
No.
around the world,
Exactly.
around the country, around the nation. It happens on a daily basis. You can turn on your television, and every time you turn your television, there's something going on. We always say that the system is broke. It needs to be revamped. It needs to be fixed because it's broke, and nobody's trying to fix it. We're trying to fix it. We're trying to start with Kevin Cooper, and we're trying to make this something that people can see and read about. Go on the internet, go to freekevincooper.org, and find out about Kevin Cooper's case. Read about it. If you read about Kevin Cooper's case, it's going to keep you enlightened on what this man is doing in prison for all these years. Why is he in prison? Find the person that committed these crimes. This was a horrible killing.
No kidding.
And these people are still at large. We need to find out who committed these crimes, get Kevin off death row, allow him to go on with his life. We get into this point in life where we don't have a whole lot of time left. This man's time is running out living. We have an expiration date. We don't know when it is, but we're going to leave here and let this man come back out in society, be part of society, and live his life the way he should. Give him opportunity of being part of his community, part of society once again. So call the number on the line, on the screen there, and get on the line and give us some feedback about Kevin Cooper, and ask Mr. Alexander some questions about the case.
Now, you raised the point, Wendell, and you're one of the examples. But generally, I think across the U.S., I think the number is, and I may be off a little bit, but I think this is it, about 4% of the people on death row, who have been executed, are innocent. So if you translate that to the number of people on death row, there are about not quite 750 death row inmates at San Quentin. It's the largest number of death row inmates in the world, certainly in the country, and I believe in the world. But even just the United States, that's enough. If you take 4%, you're about 30 people sitting in there who are innocent, at least that we know about.
Right, exactly.
And there could be more.
Right.
And nobody disagrees that the system is broken. Okay, nobody disagrees that the system, even those, for example, who favor the death penalty, agree that the system is broken. Now they have their solution.
Right.
They want to hurry things up,
Right.
take away rights of, and kill people earlier.
Exactly.
And then those who are opposed, who are opposed to the death penalty in favor of Proposition 62 here in San Francisco, which I hope people will get out and support,
And vote on
if for no other reason than cost reasons. The billions, literally billions of dollars, billions, far more expensive to execute execute a person on death row, because than it is to keep them in prison for the rest of their life.
Right.
But of course, if they're innocent, they don't deserve either.
Exactly.
So that's another thing I'll just say. Prop 62, please get out there. It makes a difference. You can make a difference. And Kevin is one example. There are others, and you never know when the day's going to come where you're wrongfully accused.
You don't know.
And
really
you may
don't know.
already have been.
That's right. You don't know. You don't know. It's not. This is not the first time, and it won't be the last time a person is arrested and sent to death row. This won't be the last time. You know, it happens on a daily basis. There's people stopped for crimes that they didn't commit, sit in the county jail for years, and then tried and sent to prison for a number of years. So it just goes on every day that people are sent to prison for crimes that they had nothing to do with. You know, so we want people to call in and ask questions about Kevin Cooper and you know, find out what you can do to help. You know, we need help in this. We've had this segment on twice. We're going to bring Kevin back in a few weeks to have him call in from death row. I know he has a lot to say, a lot to ask the audience, because we need his voice. We need his voice to speak to the audience and hear what he has to say. This man is innocent of his crime, you know, and he should not be on death row. You know, I say again, should not be on death row for a crime that he did not commit. You know, so we need to get to the bottom of this horrible murder, and we need to find out who committed the murder. The people that committed the murder, they're still running amok. You know, we don't know. They may be out committing murders as we speak. We don't know. Your neighborhood is not safe. It is not safe. So allow this man to have an opportunity to go back and prove his innocence. He did not commit this crime. Read his book. Read the Kevin Cooper story. You know, go on the internet. Free Kevin Cooper. Go on the internet and find out some of the information that you question yourself about, and get part of this run that we're in. We in a run. We're in a marathon. You know, this is for the long haul. So get in on this and allow yourself to take part in something that you'll be proud of. You know, read this information. Free Kevin Cooper.
I will say this, Wendell, that if Kevin's case is not a case that should cause people to rise up, and I'm not talking violence or anything like that. I'm just talking about speak out,
Right.
demand, write the governor, okay? All we're asking for at this point, basically, is an investigation. The long opinion written by members of the Ninth Circuit or joined in by them contains the line that Kevin was precluded at every turn, I think is the language, from being given the opportunity to prove his innocence. And that's all we're asking for.
Right.
And I could tick off the number of incidents, but we wouldn't have enough time to go through all of them. But I'm almost certain that every person who reads through this will be outraged. And if Kevin's isn't the case, then there simply is not a case. There have been a lot of instances where people have been executed, which I don't think accomplishes much other than revenge.
Right. Exactly.
If that's what you want, and you want to spend billions of dollars, and I'm not kidding. People look it up. It's billions of dollars over the period of years
Yes.
to try and execute persons.
Right.
And if you put that money into education and children's programs and food programs and the like, you wouldn't have this issue, this matter to the extent you do.
You wouldn't have it. You wouldn't have it. You know, we have a lot of officers. We have, like you said, we have good officers.
Absolutely.
A lot of good officers. But the few bad ones we have. See, they run these streets and they promote up to homicide. You know, they might come in as bunco and go to narcotic, and they go up to burglary or whatever, on up to homicide. And all these years that they become part of this police muck, they get personal vendettas towards people.
Absolutely.
You know, towards people. And when they arrest you for a homicide, and you're not guilty of this homicide, they'll tell you, we got you, and you're going to prison for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
You know?
And then they can go out and create the evidence.
That's right.
And a lot of it goes on in laboratories. And in
That's right.
Kevin's case, I can tell
Exactly.
people
Exactly.
that the head of the criminal lab down in San Bernardino County at the time was a gentleman no longer living down there, who during the investigation, putting together the case, was himself on cocaine and stole 5 pounds of cocaine. Maybe it was heroin. I'm trying to remember, but what difference does it make? And 5 pounds, that's a lot.
This is a law enforcement.
This is a law enforcement individual. Read the book. You'll see his name. He doesn't live there anymore. You can bet on that. And this is the guy who's in charge of the lab where much of what went on.
Wow.
Where it occurred. The sheriff at the time. And again, this is also in the book, and I'm not making a plug for the book one way or the other. It's unbelievable, true story. Was one who, when they would collect guns in arrests, and they would just store them, he took rifles and guns and sold them.
Wow.
And he had to leave the force.
Wow.
So this happens. You know, often the courts don't believe it.
Yeah.
They can't imagine that this goes on.
Yeah.
And it was being fought in some sense by the Black Panthers back in in the 60s and 70s and the like. And there's the exhibit now at the Oakland Museum.
Yeah, 50 years.
And they were trying to defend themselves.
Yeah, 50 years.
Now, I'm not justifying everything they did, and Kevin's not affiliated with the Black Panthers or anything like that. But the same kinds of issues you're seeing now were present back then, and they were certainly present in San Bernardino County in 1983.
Yeah, the same thing's going on there. It's going on now, and it's live in living color today.
Exactly.
You know, every time, like I say, every time you turn on the news, in the morning, evening, in night, you see it. It's on the news.
Yep.
You know, and it's going on. It's been going on for a while.
We got cameras.
Right.
And the like.
Right. So anyway, we want to thank you, Mr. Alexander, for coming on this evening.
Surely. Thank you for having me, and we'll get Kevin to call in, and maybe people will then call in at that time.
Exactly.
But you've got the information up there. We really need people who maybe could help us do some fundraising. And we're not talking about all, we're not talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Nobody who's worked on this case has gotten paid a nickel.
Right.
So
Okay.
there you go.
Okay. So thank you. We appreciate you coming on this evening, and tune in in a couple of weeks. We're going to bring back Kevin Cooper, and we'll announce it, the time and the date that he's going to come on. So thank you for coming on, and we appreciate it. If you don't get this show tonight, tomorrow at 2:00 it'll be on YouTube. So look up the Wendell Amin James Show, and thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you.